My story really is a story of the prodigal son. I grew up Christian home. My dad and my mom took me to church every time the doors were open. My dad was a deacon. My mom played piano, sang in the choir, and I grew up knowing exactly what to do, and accepted Christ at a very early age, and loved Jesus, and I know I did. But then as I grew up, as I went through middle school and high school, that became not as important, and I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have a bunch of friends. I wanted to be popular way more than I wanted to follow Christ. So went through high school and just was kind of doing my own thing. I was going to church and looking one way, and then at school was doing my own thing and doing all kinds of other just different stuff that I knew not only would my parents not like, but I knew I wasn't honoring Christ with how I was acting either. So then when time came to go to college, I had done well with academics. I had done well with choir and drama and was able to go to college for free on a scholarship. But unfortunately, when I left, since I wasn't following Christ really well when I was at home and in high school, then when I left for college, then I really wasn't. And I just started doing my own thing and made a lot of choices I really regret. And then in college, while I was away, my grandmother died. And that was kind of the first person that I'd ever lost that was close to me. And I really kind of just hit rock bottom. And instead of running toward God, instead of looking to Him as my comfort and my peace, I ran further and just went deeper into the bad decisions that I was making. And so continued to make them, and ended up losing my scholarships in college. Was on academic probation and basically couldn't afford to stay at college, so I had to pack up and move back home. I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to go back to church. I just continued running from the Lord. I didn't want to feel judged by everybody there. Now, whether they would have or not, I have no idea, but in my mind, that's what I told myself. So I dove deeper into my job, just serving in a restaurant, and just spent time hanging out with my friends. Yes, so one night at the restaurant that I worked at, a friend of mine from high school, a girl came in with some friends, and they had just gotten done at the college ministry that they were a part of. We talked about things, talked about how I'd ended up back home, and she ends up inviting me to a small group. She didn't invite me to a church service. She ends up inviting me to her small group, and I'm so grateful to God for that, because I truly believe I don't think I'd said yes if she'd asked me to go, even to that college ministry at first, because I just didn't want to be a part of anything like that. But I ended up going to a small group with her. I end up seeing college students my age who are all just completely normal, but living for Christ, and they truly love Jesus, and they're learning their Bibles, and I'm telling you, at that point, I probably could have out-memorized any of them. I'd grown up in Awanas. I knew all the right things to say. I knew all the right answers, but I just didn't have it in my own life. So these kids had something that I didn't, and I wanted that kind of relationship with Christ. So I'd gone a few times, ended up going to college ministry, and ended up really just fully giving myself to the Lord at that point. And my life took a completely different turn ever since then. And just like the prodigal son, when he came back and his father was there waiting for him, I'm so thankful that that's the way that God was for me. He didn't just turn his back on me and say, nope, I gave you a chance. You had your chance. Now I'm going to move on to somebody else. Instead, God welcomed me back, and He's still used me in spite of all the ways that I failed Him and turned my back on Him, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm Randy Strickland, and this is my story.